Hello everyone, welcome back to Believer CS Academy. This is daily news analysis session. In today's session, we will be discussing 5 important articles from the Hindu, Indian Express and other newspapers from UPSC prelims, mains and interview perspective. So the first article for the day, that is 9th July 2025, is from the front page of the Hindu, that is about India-US mini trade deal. What are the contentions, implications, etc. is discussed in this article. So it is important from paper 2, international relations, economy and trade in paper 3, etc. etc. So it is news because India is nearing the finalization of a mini trade deal with USA expected within few days. So final proposals have been submitted by India, acceptance now rests with USA. We have to wait and see what the USA is going to say. So the key issues in the trade negotiations are under this. First is mainly with respect to genetically modified crops. US has certain demands, India has certain counter demands. US's demand is that India should permit imports of GM soybean meal and DDGS for animal feed. What is DDGS? That is distillers dried grains with solubles for animal feed. What is India's stand? India is reluctant to allow GM imports, citing health concerns, biodiversity risks and lack of public support. And with respect to dairy imports, US's demand is that India should open its market for US cow milk and dairy products. India's concern is religious sensitivities, that cows are not killed in India or slaughtered in India, whereas that is not the case in USA. Concerns over bovine feed practices in USA conflicting with Indian sentiments. And finally, impact on the domestic dairy farmers. Okay, so background is that in April 2024, USA under Trump imposed 26% tariffs, which including India. India was spared from the further hikes after bilateral negotiations were resumed. Now the bilateral negotiations are continuing. We have to wait and see what the final outcome will be. So there have been 2 rounds of diplomatic engagement visits by India and USA teams each. In India, it is led by Rajesh Agarwal, who is the Special Secretary, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So significance for India is that by finalizing the trade deal, it will help India to balance the trade, that is reducing tariff friction with key partners like USA, because USA is the India's largest trading partner. Excuse me. It is also going to help export the boost. Potential relaxation on steel, aluminum and textile exports is going to help India a lot. And geostrategic, that it signals strategic alignment amid Quad Indo-Pacific cooperation. And tariff threat, avoidance of US tariff hikes helps stabilize export reliant sectors. However, there are certain challenges with respect to policy dissonance, that is India's cautious approach to DMO, whereas US's push for business and public health and ethics with respect to GM crops and dairy, and also domestic politics with the farmer unions or farmer groups, Swadeshi, Jagar and Munch, etc., opposing import of US dairy. Okay, so way forward should be, there should be balancing of sensitivities and there should be bilateral sensitization respecting the red lines. Example, with respect to GMOs and religious norms, while finding the middle ground. Okay, both the countries should come to a middle ground. And science-based standards, that is strengthening FSSAI's guidelines and public communication on safe imports. And phased market access, time-bound access with the safeguards for Indian farmers should also be found. And finally, building the resilience. How do we build resilience? By diversifying global trade ties while preserving the food sovereignty. Okay, USA is not the only country that is in the world, so India should also find other allies where India can improve its trade so that it doesn't compromise with the trade sovereignty. Okay, then second one is a very unfortunate event which happened in Tamil Nadu. It is Kadalur railway crossing tragedy. Recently, like yesterday, 3 school children were killed and several others were injured in a school after a school van was hit by a passenger train at manned but non-interlocked level crossing. Okay, it was manned but the level was non-interlocked in Semmakapuram, Kadalur, Tamil Nadu on July 9th, 2025. So it is very important from paper 2, governance, paper 3, infrastructure, paper 4 and essay. Okay, you can use as a negligence of public safety or negligence of public accountability, etc., etc. Okay, so we'll not discuss about the particular incident, but discuss about recent or importance of level crossings in India and data, etc., etc. So railway level crossing accidents in India. So the data is that according to NCRB and India Railways data, over 30% of railway accidents that occur in India, most 30% occur in unmanned or poorly managed level crossings. 30% of the total railway accidents happen at unmanned or poorly managed level crossings. In 2022, more than 1,100 deaths were occurred in India due to accidents at level crossings. Tamil Nadu consistently ranks among the states with the high number of level crossing fatalities. Okay, about the level crossings in India, as per the Ministry of Railways, total there are 19,000 level crossings in India, of which 18,000 are manned and thousands are unmanned. Within unmanned crossings, aim is to eliminate unmanned crossings by 2020 officially, but non-interlocked gates are still pose danger. So about 40% of manned gates are non-interlocked. Okay, lacking integration with the signaling systems. Okay. So issues in railway level crossing. First is non-interlocked gates. Lack of linkage with the signaling. Gates may remain open even when the train is approaching. And second is human error. Gatekeepers or road users ignoring the protocols. Inadequate training to the gatekeepers. And also there is a lack of automation. So we can divide them in governance, technological, citizen basis, etc., etc. This human error is the government cannot do anything there. The common people should use the common sense which is available to them. Okay, you have to stop, listen, and then move. Okay, what the kids use today: stop, look to the both sides on the road, look to the both sides on the railway station as well, railway grounds as well, only then do the crossing. That has to be basic manners which should be followed. And then there is lack of automation, that is delayed adoption of electric sensors, boom barriers and warning systems in India, and poor awareness, that is school vans and rural vehicles often ignore warning signs due to over familiarity. And then infrastructure bottlenecks, that is delay in building road over bridges or underpasses. And then there is issue of poor monitoring with the limited CCTV or remote monitoring of manned crossings. So global best practices. The best practices in the global level are: Japan, there has been complete grade separation, meaning most crossings have now been eliminated with flyovers or underpasses. That can be followed in India. However, it is going to be more capital intensive. And in USA, there is automated gates and alarms. And in Germany, there is integrated signaling. That is, all crossings are interlinked with the central signaling. Trains cannot move unless the gates are closed. Okay. And in UK, there is community awareness plus technology implementation. India can focus on this aspect, providing community awareness. That is, stop, look, listen campaigns. Okay, simple. As we used to be taught in the as a kids, when you are crossing the road, you have to stop, look, listen to the road, and then cross the road. Similar thing has to be taught here again for the elders and others. So way forward is modernizing all manned crossings with the interlocked gates and interlocked ones, and automated safety protocols with the electronic boom barriers, AI and automation based sensor systems, and accelerating the construction of rail over bridges or rail underpasses, and enforcing accountability to the persons involved in the negligence, and awareness and school transport protocols, that is strict licensing and inspection norms for the private school vans. And from the government side, what they can do is focus on national crossing safety audit, that is conduct yearly third party audits on gate functionality, staff training and signage. Okay, so with this we can reduce the level crossing and these kind of silly but fatal accidents. So third is an editorial from the Hindu. It talks about quick fix: budgetary allowances alone will not solve India's research and development problem. So context is, Union Cabinet has approved rupees 1 lakh crore R&D innovation scheme. It aims to incentivize private sector investment in basic and core research, which is an area traditionally dominated by the government. The scheme will be operationalized through Anusandhan National Research Foundation. Okay, this Anusandhan National Research Foundation becomes important from this year's mains perspective. So have a look about this Anusandhan National Research Foundation. The features of scheme is fund size is 1 lakh, implementing body is ANRF, that is Anusandhan National Research Foundation, which is under the Department of Science and Technology. Support will be primarily low interest loans to private entities, and this eligibility criteria that has been the point of contention. Only the projects at technology readiness level 4 and above, or the lab with the technology readiness level 4 and above. What is this TRL level 4? It is a concept developed by NASA. The technology readiness level scale ranges from TRL 1 to TRL 9. TRL 1 is any lab or any project which is mainly basic principles are observed, whereas in TRL 9, the actual system is proven in operation environment. Okay, so the middle path is, or middle ground is TRL 4, which means technology validated in lab. Okay, a mid-level threshold requiring some prior advancements in development. Okay, so some said that because there is a cutoff of TRL 4, most of the labs in TRL 1 and 3 are excluded here. Okay, so some data for your answers. So current India's R&D foundation, R&D spending is only 0.65% of the GDP, which is way less compared to USA, China and South Korea. South Korea with 4.5% of GDP. And spending breakdown, government is dominated 70% by the government, 30% by the private sector, which is in contrast to the more developed countries where private sector leads the research and development. So key issues highlighted are restrictive eligibility, which I have explained you. So it excludes early stage innovations where private capital is most needed. Okay, so when the capital is needed in the initial days, if a private entity or if the private lab wants to do something or achieve something, they need capital in the beginning. If you are putting a restriction up to the TRL 4, what about those people who don't have investment till TRL 4? So those should also be considered. It contradicts the nature of breakthrough innovations, which often start at TRL 1 or 2. And neglect of strategic public investments. The USA invested in technologies like GPS, internet, radar through military R&D and not private industry alone. So India lacks a comparable military industrial research complex, which hinders risk-heavy R&D. Military complex are mainly risk-heavy, so their private institutions are hesitant to work because there is higher risk attached to them. In those cases, India should, or the government should, focus on providing public funds there. Brain drain, another issue. The scientists or researcher from India are often leaving for countries with better infrastructure, research systems, or academic freedom, which is often not available in India. And weak high-tech manufacturing base. There is a gap between lab level innovation and commercial scale manufacturing, and no robust ecosystem for deep tech prototyping or productization. So India should focus on academia. In academia, there is limited funding for blue sky or basic research. In private sector, incentives could lead to tech commercialization if implementation is smooth. In innovation, there is a risk of short-termism, low support for moonshot projects. The moonshot projects are those projects which require or which have a higher period, which require higher time period. Okay. The global standing, without structural reforms, India may continue lagging in global innovation. So in way forward, address the issues. One is broaden the eligibility criteria, include TRL 1 to 3. And also in the grants, not only loans, they should also provide grant-based support. Strengthening ANRF autonomy by providing academic freedom, peer review evaluation, etc., and reducing bureaucratic red tape. And military industry collaboration, emulate models like DARPA of USA, Fraunhofer Institutes of Germany to develop high-risk technologies with public fund. Boosting domestic manufacturing capacity, that is aligning research and development policies with the national schemes or welfare schemes such as PLI scheme, semiconductor mission and Make India initiatives. Finally, retaining the talent. How do you retain the talent? Create an attractive career pathways for the researchers, including startups, labs and think tanks. Okay. So very important articles, especially for this year's mains. Then the next article is about another editorial which talks about the Election Commission of India does not have unfettered powers. which is written by PDT Acharya, who is a former Secretary General of Lok Sabha. Okay, and this is written in context of special intensive revision that is happening in Bihar at the moment. So the context is Election Commission of India has ordered a special intensive revision of the electoral rolls in Bihar ahead of the upcoming assembly elections in November 2025. So to know more about special intensive revision, just search the YouTube to the channel, go there, you will find topic of the day discussion. In the topic of the day, I have discussed about special intensive revision, what are the issues, constitutional mandates, statutory mandates, etc. have been discussed thoroughly and holistically. The move has drawn criticism and the article examines constitutional and legal boundaries of the Election Commission of India's powers. So what are the constitutional provisions that allow ECI to go for special intensive revision? One is Article 324, which vests the superintendence, direction and control of the elections in Election Commission of India. Okay, election to the state legislature, election to the Lok Sabha and Lok Sabha or Parliament. Article 326, it guarantees universal adult suffrage for all Indian citizens aged 18 and above unless disqualify any law. Okay, in India, that law which disqualifies a person from entering into or having the right to vote is Representation of People's Act of 1950. So other legal framework in India is the Representation of People Act. So RPA 1950 under section 21, it deals with preparation and revision of electoral rolls, which includes regular annual revisions, revision before general or by elections, and special revision for constituency or any part thereof, not the entire state. So this is the issue that has been in contention. Okay, special intensive revision is happening for whole of Bihar. However, under the legal framework, it is only for constituency or any part thereof. Under section 14, there is a qualifying date for inclusion of the roll is January 1 of the relevant year. So here also this has been the issue in current special intensive revision. July 1 has been chosen as a qualifying date, which goes against this law. And section 19 and 20, minimum age of 18 plus ordinary resident in constituency. This ordinary residence has been again an issue here, point of contention here. So rule 8 of the registration, citizens must provide information to the best of their ability. And electoral rules of 1960, strict documentation cannot be insisted upon. Okay, there has to be some flexibility provided in cases of lack of documents. So issues with current SIR in Bihar is, one is the questionable legal standing, that is the order is set at July 1, 2025 as the qualifying date, which lacks any statutory basis. The term special intensive revision does not exist in Representation of People Act of 1950. The scope of revision, that is section 21 clause 3, allows special revision only for a constituency or part and not the entire state thereof. Violation of natural justice, this aspect is very important. There is risk of disenfranchisement of marginalized communities, including migrants or minorities. Okay, so migrants most often move from one state to another state for the work, etc. If they are present at other state, they are at the risk of missing the deadlines. As a result, they are at the risk of missing or getting disenfranchisement, losing the right to vote. Supreme Court jurisprudence. In Mohinder Singh Gill versus CEC 1978, Election Commission of India must act within the framework of existing laws where applicable. Article 324 fills only legislative gaps and not a license for arbitrary action. Okay, so implications for electoral democracy. Okay, that we already discussed. So way forward should be adhering to the legal mandates, providing the process should be transparent and due, strengthening the oversight and reinforcement of Election Commission of India's independence, with the demand for collegium based appointments should extend to election commissioners as well. Okay, similar on the lines of Supreme Court, and improve the voter registration technologies. Here you can use other linkages, GIS data, door-to-door campaigns to ensure robust and inclusive voter rolls. Okay, important article. Note make of important words I have told you now. Finally, the article for today is terrorists exploit online platforms in India, according to FATF report. So the Financial Action Task Force, that is FATF, the global watchdog for money laundering and terror financing, released a report titled Comprehensive Update on Terrorist Financing Risks of 2024. It highlights how accused in major terror attacks in India exploited digital platforms such as online payment services, e-commerce marketplaces, and VPNs. Okay, the report also provides certain examples. One is Goraknath temple attack in April 2022 of Uttar Pradesh. Perpetrator was a lone wolf attacker who was influenced by Islamic State of Iraq and Lebanon ideology. So modus operandi was he transferred 6.7 lakh via PayPal to foreign entities to learn about certain tricks, and then he got received 10,323 from abroad. So he used the PayPal with the VPNs. How do VPNs act? VPN allows you to like so okay. VPN is nothing but virtual private network. Okay, virtual private network. If you have installed VPN in your phone, you can bypass your IP address. Okay. So if this is IP address 1 where you are from India, if this is IP address 2 where you want to show yourself as, if the VPN is there and if you install VPN of a particular and you choose any particular country, suppose USA. So here when person wants to search your phone through IP address, your phone doesn't show the IP address of India, instead it shows the IP address of USA. So you are bypassing your IP address through VPNs. Okay. So this VPNs is most of the times used in these kind of terror attacks. Also, this is also used in pornography since it is banned in India. So that is how VPNs are used to mask their IP address. And in Pulwama attack also, they targeted CPRF convoys and killed 40 personals. So here the group involved was Jaish-e-Mohammed, which was led by Asad Mazur, and the digital procurement was key materials like aluminum powder were brought through Amazon. They were used to enhance IED blast. Okay, they used Amazon, okay, the Amazon tech platform for procuring the raw materials for making the bombs. Okay, then so according to the FATF observations, the e-commerce platforms are increasingly exploited by terrorists, used for material procurement, trade-based money laundering. They are being used for material procurement and trade-based money laundering. Tactics include setting up fraudulent complicit shop fronts using over or under invoicing to transfer funds and value. And virtual private networks aid in anonymity by bypassing the traditional service mechanisms of IP address. And FATF warns that online platforms are becoming critical enablers in financing and executing terror attacks. Okay, so this there are certain implications for India. This proves a new age challenge for India. So the article also highlights the need for India. The need here is for stricter regulation of online payments and digital commerce platforms so that they are not misused, enhancing international cooperation to trace cross-border fund flows, improved cyber forensic capabilities and tracking of VPN usage, and public-private partnerships between the government and fintech e-commerce platforms for early detection. Okay, so these are important articles which I want to discuss for the day. If you think you got anything out of the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. And if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and also click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any notification. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.